Make some noise for Jesse Brown! Make some noise for Jesse Brown!
You don't really care about Canada. I'm sorry you care about Canada. You care. You care about malnutrition in South Asia. You care about where all the honeybees have disappeared to. You're very nice, caring people. But come on. And by the time we're done tonight, I cannot promise you that you're going to care about Canada any more than you do right now. But I will promise you this. When you leave this room, you will be proud to be a Canadian. Please now rise for the national anthem. Yeah, I'm not joking. Get up. Should you fuck the Prime Minister? The world has recently discovered that it would like to fuck our Prime Minister. But the truth is, there's a whole history of Prime Ministers that you might consider fucking. I guess the question is, like, what are you in this for? Is this about fame and fortune? I don't think that's going to work out for you. But, you know, if this is just what you're into, like if this is just your thing, I'm not here to judge. I'm here to help. Let's start with this guy. Pro, he is going to go martial law on that ass. Con, he is going to declare martial law. Con, and I think we know that this is true, thick 70s dad bush. Pretty fuckable. Lester B. Pearson, the airport prime minister. Pro, nice boy. He is totally nice boy. Con, it's hard to imagine screaming Lester in a fit of passion. Do the math, run the algorithm, add it up, and you know what? You fucked worse. I mean, throw him a fuck. It's gonna hurt. What about this scrappy little fellow? He is not gonna treat you well. His hands are like big, freaky coconut crab claws. And this must be noted if you're trying to figure out whether to or not. It's not like you're going to ignore this. A blizzard did break his face. What? It's going to figure into the decision. I'm looking at that photo, I'm thinking about it all, and you know what? He's kind of fuckable. He is. Okay, full circle. Con, he's into hot yoga. Con, he has already written you poetry after your first date. Different strokes, lady. Con, he has a terrible fuckboy tattoo. And Con, and you know this. You know that when he's finished, he's going to roll over and look deep and longingly into your eyes and whisper, "Hey." Hard pass. No, do not fuck that man. Let's discuss Canadian fashion. Canadians often wear clothes. Our citizens take great pride in covering up their bodies, as well they should. And yet, at any given point in time, only 2% of the country is actually well-dressed. And yet, Canada has made a major impact on the world of fashion, thanks in no small part to this wholesome individual. Montreal's own Dov Charney. You know, he's a controversial figure, I will grant you that, but this man made an incredible contribution to Canadian fashion. He is the former CEO of the amazing Canadian fashion brand American Apparel. I'm sorry, Dov Charney is a very problematic figure. But as problematic as Dov Charney is, he is not nearly as problematic as the pants worn by women in this city. We can mock the pants worn by French-Canadian women, and we should. We should mock these pants. But let's not forget that when we are in Montreal, we are in the capital of Canadian fashion. I mean, this city has a history with the fashion industry. This is the city where my grandmother, when she came from Eastern Europe, worked in a textile factory. And these businesses fueled a lot of growth in immigrant communities. They became huge companies. There were innovations in fashion. And that lives on to this day, thanks in no small part to our sponsor tonight, Frank and Oak. Yeah, Frank and Oak. Montreal company, Frank and Oak. One of the fastest growing clothing companies in North America. I'm not kidding. Frank and Oak. Come on, everybody. Yes. A full-service fashion company with a retail outlets here in Montreal and abroad, or you can shop online, men and women's clothing. Don't judge me, sir. Do not judge me. You don't think my grandmother in that textile factory would want me to take Frank and Oak's money? She would want me to have that money. I'm so sorry. Okay. I would like to denigrate the woodland creatures of Canada. Canadians take great pride in our natural landscapes and the creatures that inhabit them. That is unfortunate because our animals are all garbage. There is the angry bag of shit. There's the dead baby seal. Oh, poor drawing. Guilty. The dead baby seal is guilty of attracting Paul McCartney and Anthony Bourdain to our national discourse. I know it's a national symbol, but have you actually looked at this disgusting animal? This communist rodent, it's a really grotesque. There's this total fucking nightmare. And finally, there is absolute proof that God hates Canadians. The worst animal in Canada, with a brain the size of an orange, which just freezes in its tracks when it sees headlights. 1,000 pounds of stinking carcass suspended on legs that are as thin as toothpicks. Moose are designed for a very deliberate purpose, and I'd like to review that right now. Stage one, this is how moose work, okay? This is how they're intended to work. Stage one, the moose's dumb, stupid legs, which end right where your car makes impact, right above the grill of your car, are destroyed. And stage two, the moose's stupid, smelly body enters your windshield at high velocity. And step three, the moose's dumb, stupid, sharp antlers enter your body, and you die smelling a moose. You are subjects of a queen. I know it's just like, she's a symbolic figurehead. It's no big deal. She's like our mascot. We say these things, but we have a queen, and it strikes me as odd, and there are many odd things about having a queen. It is illegal to surprise her. This is true. The penalty in the criminal code for startling the Queen of England can be as high as a jail term of 14 years. The official @Canada Twitter account remarked that on this day in 1982, the Constitution of Canada was signed by the Queen, which enshrined our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So there's a contradiction there, that the Charter of Rights and Freedoms had to be signed by a queen. And so I tweeted, OMG, we have constitutional rights because an old British lady signed them over to us 35 years ago. #Canada150. It's not my best tweet. It's not a good tweet, but whatever. What I learned as a result of that tweet is the point here. People were angry with me. And that happens to me a lot on Twitter. But it was who got angry with me? The former Prime Minister of Canada felt that this was an insult that she could not bear, and so she had to get on Twitter and decry me as a wingnut. And I'm like, you know what, come on. I'm not a wingnut. Like, to be fair, I'm not really a wingnut, and you were never really the Prime Minister. So. I'm sorry, am I punching down? But what this showed me is that there are Canadians who actually really care about the Queen, and they will protect her. And they kind of wish that we were back in some old colonial setting. They don't want to live in a democracy. They are loyal to the Queen. They are crypto-monarchists. And they're everywhere. There's probably some here tonight. And I think that this is a witch hunt worth having. So, please join me. I think I figured out a way to root them out. I want you to repeat after me. Eat my poop, you batshit anachronism. Okay? Let's try it. It's a pledge of disloyalty. Eat my poop, you batshit anachronism. Can you please turn the house lights up? What we're going to do is we're going to say it one more time, but this time I want you to look to your left and look to your right and see who's not saying it. Eat my poop, you monarchist. Crypto-loyalist. They think they're just like retaining their dignity or something by refusing to pointlessly insult a nice old lady. But no, they're loyal to the Queen, and we know their names. J'accuse. Thank you. We can bring those lights down again. You will have to leave. Does anyone mind terribly if I talk shit about Toronto? That's okay here? That's okay. So my dad from Winnipeg told me that Toronto was just this boring-ass Protestant city that you would pass on the train without getting out when you're on your way to Montreal. Well, this was true for many, many years. In fact, Toronto was originally labeled a temporary city in the early years of British rule. And, I mean, this was a legacy of no-fun, boring-ass, meat-packing Toronto. Up in, like in 1969, you still needed a license to buy liquor for personal use. You had to sign a ledger and show that you had a license. Up until the 90s, there were still neighborhoods in Toronto that were practicing prohibition, that were dry. So that the no-fun hangover has plagued Toronto from the start, and Toronto would probably just be a very minor Canadian city still, if not for fear. Fear transformed Toronto into the center of the universe of Canada. It happened in the 60s and 70s, when fear of a separate Quebec drove Canadian companies to relocate the headquarters of their financial organizations, banks, companies, all moved down the 401, and they were soon followed by terrified Anglos who thought that Quebec was going to separate. And so seemingly overnight, Toronto boomed. It boomed. And the construction business in Toronto went crazy. And they built and built and built at exactly the ugliest moment in architectural history. boxes all stitched together ass to mouth. It's completely ungovernable. You want a new subway stop? That'll just take 20 years. It is the ugliest city of its size in the world. Naturally, it is obsessed with real estate. This charming little fixer-upper was just flipped. It sold for $400,000 above asking. Because Toronto is so joyless and sexless and gray, Torontonians must take pleasure where they can, and they do so through an endless parade of novelty food items. Toronto is always discovering a new food trend, like last year when Toronto discovered ramen. Or the year before that when Toronto discovered poutine. That's what Toronto does. Have you ever had a shawarma the size of a preemie? You can get one in Toronto. Torontonians, though they have thousands of eateries to choose from, will seemingly at random pick 3 to line up for 8 blocks to get into. Just totally some arbitrary ice cream joint, or a cheesecake shop, or a brunch spot. It's always dairy for some reason. They're weird dairy fetishists. I don't understand. Toronto has an interesting relationship with its professional sports teams. Toronto loves its professional sports teams, but its professional sports teams hate Toronto. The ticket prices to watch the Jays or the Leafs or the Raptors play are the highest in the country, and yet the number of championships over the last 100 years is like lower than 20. Torontonians just absolutely lost their minds because the Leafs played well enough to get eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. Don't even get me started about the Argos, and I want to thank Mike Wheeler for the sports jokes because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Sports in Toronto is a sociological experiment in human behavior to see how much humiliation and degradation people can put up with before they lose interest. Hasn't happened yet. Let's talk about Canada's intellectual charlatans. You were waiting for that one. Let's do it. We all know this brainiac, this genius. You can tell that Malcolm Gladwell is super smart by the way that his weird hair is lit. Please don't mock Malcolm. He's worth the $100,000 he charges to deliver a 1-hour lecture. He's worth every penny because his ideas are so incredible. They've changed the world. We all know his ideas. We remember his first earth-shattering idea, new trends sure do get popular all of a sudden. It was a big idea. How do you follow up an idea like that? We all remember his next huge world-changing idea, practice makes perfect. Blew my fucking mind. Malcolm Gladwell is sort of the king of this new era of this industry, you know, of self-appointed thinkfluencers, of thought leaders, of gurus, these schmucks who we overpay and glorify, these guys who pretend that there's no idea so complicated that it can't be summed up into a fun little slideshow. But as detestable as Malcolm Gladwell is, we can't blame him for this industry, for this phenomenon. There's another Canadian we can blame for that. You may not know his face, but I guarantee that you will be able to tell me Marshall McLuhan's big idea. Say it with me now. The medium is the message. Oh, you know an idea. You guys are smart. That was actually his innovation, was that if you can kind of mass market an idea into a slogan that people can remember that kind of makes, oh yeah, the medium is the message. That's smart. And then the more you think about it, the less smart it is. No, it's not. But you remember it. And through that, he became the world's first celebrity intellectual. He was huge. He was everywhere. He was on TV. He was interviewed in Playboy magazine. He was in a Woody Allen movie. Marshall McLuhan was huge because everybody loved The Medium is the Message. But before he wrote The Medium is the Message, he wrote a lot of other stuff that didn't quite take off. And I use the term wrote loosely because he didn't actually write. Marshall McLuhan would lie down on a couch and just blather. And his assistants would write down all of the words that came out of his mouth. And so let's play a little game. Is it a McLuhan concept? Or did we just make this shit up? You ready? Yeah. Let's do it. Mechanical Bride. Is that a McLuhan idea? Yeah. Some mixed reactions here. It is a McLuhan idea. It's the title of his first book. I wanted to actually find out what it meant. So I tried reading The Mechanical Bride, and I have no fucking clue what it means. But I did find this, because The Mechanical Bride sold under 100 copies, and McLuhan was pissed off, and he blamed it on his publisher. So I found this quote that he gave to his biographer when he was explaining whose fault it was. He said it was his editor's fault. He said, there's a vague homosexual influence in the publishing world, and that his editor was horrified by the masculine vigor of his prose and tried to castrate his text. Okay, Marshall McLuhan, let's play Bonanza Land. No? No, that sounds pretty made up, right? No, that's a McLuhan idea. Yeah, that's not from the greatest hits list, but that is a McLuhan idea. What does it mean? Bonanza Land. We march backwards into the future. Suburbia lives imaginatively in Bonanza Land. Okay. Digital Gestalt. This man is credited with predicting the internet. Did he also come up with the idea of digital Gestalt? Yeah? No, we're fucking with you. That is not a McLuhan concept, sorry. Okay, finally. Truck gardens. I think you're on to me now. Yeah. No, that also is a McLuhan concept. Truck gardens. Thunder number 4. Patterns of nature submitted to greed and power. Okay, I don't know. That's a truck garden. So, McLuhan made up a lot of interesting word salads, but in coming up with the medium as the message, he basically created the template for all future intellectual charlatans to follow, many of whom are also Canadian. Don't they look like the world's worst dad band? They look like Stephen Harper's band, this is true. But in fact, they are thought leaders in Canada. And I guess the thing is to kind of look like a middle-aged banker, but just have a little bit of flair, you know? So there's Douglas Copeland. Douglas Copeland, of course, we all remember that the buzzwords he came up with, Gen X. He coined the phrase Gen X in 1989. That's it, that's all. I don't believe he's left the home since. That's not true, he's left us. All right, on keyboards is Don Tapscott. Don Tapscott, a little bit less famous, but 10 years ago, Don Tapscott was a big deal because he wrote this book called Wikinomics. That, you know what, like, you get that idea just from the title, right? What if I put Wikipedia and economics together, like chocolate and peanut butter? It's amazing. Like, what if you took the collaborative digital community building of Wikipedia and applied it to the world of economics and corporations? Wouldn't that be transformative? And everybody thought so. And it didn't happen at all, like not even a little bit. It was a totally bad prediction. Finally, on guitar, Toronto's own Richard Florida. Richard Florida also has a buzzword-worthy idea, the creative class. He was able to reintroduce the idea of a class system as a good thing. People loved it. He was able to convince people that the best class of citizen possible are like upper middle class, quasi-creative urban gentrifiers. That idea was very popular with upper middle class, quasi-creative urban gentrifiers. And it was popular with mayors and urban planners, and they actually changed zoning and rules to try to attract those people to destitute neighborhoods or to just blue-collar neighborhoods. They tried to attract these people and reform cities, and it was a total fucking disaster, and they ruined neighborhoods. And Richard Florida has admitted as much, and you can read all about that in his new book. Okay, let's talk about, sorry. The thing is that, I don't know, I wanted to talk about Canadian sexuality, but like, you're supposed to get these things legally vetted, and we ran out of money. It's probably not a good idea. Like, there's also just a question of like taste. I don't know, like, there might be kids here. Let's move on. Let's something less controversial. I want to talk to you about climate change. Thank you. Climate change is a serious problem. We recognize this, that this is the problem of our age. And it's like not a tomorrow problem, it's a today problem. It's happening now. This isn't about the world is gonna end, like it's gonna, no. We're in a state of constant crisis, constant climate catastrophe. There are food riots and civil wars, climate refugees, just disease, tsunamis, hurricanes, general catastrophe all around the world all the time. And we get it in Canada because we care about nature. We have a special relationship with nature. It's one of the first things people think of when they think of Canada is our Rocky Mountains and our woodlands, our climate. Talk about climate change. Climate is such a big deal to Canadians. It's part of our identity. So we pay attention to this problem and we care about it. Our Prime Minister cares about it. Justin Trudeau said, we need to take real action on climate change. I think he meant this kind of action. Guys, we need to admit it. Our climate is terrible and we would love to change it. You're from Canada? How's your climate? Miserable. Would you like some climate change? Yes, I would like some climate change. It's already better. It's already better than when we were kids. Come on. Don't lie to me. Don't. We admit it to each other. On those freakish days, we admit it, right? I was in Saskatoon in February, and it was gorgeous. It was weird. It was a freak day. And I left my parka in the hotel room, and I walked around the streets of Saskatoon with this dumbfounded grin on my face, feeling the sun on my skin for the first time in months. And I had the same conversation with 3 different strangers where I went, crazy weather, huh? And they said the same thing. They all said, yeah, if this is global warming, I'll take it. Wink. We love global warming. Global warming, fuck yeah. This is not me talking. This is not just my anecdotes. This is the policy of Canada. We have the tar sands. We actually have control over global warming. We can make the planet hotter. So we do that. It's like a thermostat. We can turn the temperature off. But instead of getting sent a bill for turning the heat up, we get sent billions of dollars. It's win-win. It's win-win-win because the hotter it gets, the more everything melts up north. We get access to more natural resources. We get access to the natural gas that is buried underneath the North Pole. We get access to shipping laneways that were previously blocked. We get access to farmland that was previously unfarmable. It's just a win-win-win. It's what we're doing. You can say what you want about your concerns about climate change, but what this country is doing is we fucking love climate change. And we admit this when we're talking with each other. We're among friends tonight, okay? We can admit it. Justin Trudeau admits it when he's among friends. This is what he said to the oil and gas industry. He said, no country would find 173 billion barrels of oil in the ground and just leave them. That's crazy. Not going to just leave them. You're going to dig that shit up through the dirtiest extraction process possible, and you're going to burn it. No party even gives us the choice of leaving it in the ground. This is Canadian. We talk about this amongst ourselves, okay? The CBC admits this. They say, global warming will hurt most economies, but boost Canada's. Toronto Sun put a finer point on it. Quite eloquent. Canada is looking hot. CTV has plans for grandeur. By the year 2050, Canada could be enjoying newfound status as a global superpower. And our government says that global warming may provide opportunities for agriculture. It's an opportunity. The world's misery is our opportunity. Just admit it. Canada is looking hot. Maybe not. Things could go a different way. I want to bring you a different vision of the future. The year is 2021. Post-wall Mexico is thriving. The Grand Trump Amigo Wall forced all the industrial jobs into America, so Mexico focused on their tech sector, and it's huge. El Silicon Grande. It's doing great. So Trump had to figure which country he was going to pick around for his re-election bid. He chose Canada, and it worked. The wall was built. We paid for it. I bring you now the Canadian Friendship Enhancement Barrier. It's built using the last natural resources we had, polar bears and unpaid interns. Along the top, there are crucified Canadian geese. Let it be a warning to other migratory fowl that do not respect national boundaries. It stretches from coast to coast with a gap across the border of Saskatchewan, because who's going to fucking bother? And the airspace above is patrolled by Breitbart news drones. They're on the lookout for contraband Uber Eats poutine delivery bots. Glenn Beck tries and fails to switch sides again, while Lena Dunham tunnels underneath. Every 100 yards is demarcated by a completely inane Banksy mural. And keeping watch above it all, on wall duty, because winter has come to Canada, Justin Trudeau. Finally, he is ready. Okay, I don't care about Canada, but I promised you that I would make you proud to be Canadian. And I want to suggest to you that the reason for us all to be proud to be Canadian is just that. You don't have to care about it. It's been under our nose this whole time. What's our thing? What's our identity? It's been sitting right under our nose. No country in history has done that. You don't have to care about it. You had to care for thousands of years. Not only did you have to care about your country, you had to pledge allegiance to your country, you had to wave a flag for your country, you had to take up arms, you had to hold a rifle you had to shoot people in the head to expand your country, to defend your country. We don't have to do that. We don't have to care. It's really unique. You just live your life. That's amazing. You can just live your life knowing that there are public schools to send your kids to that are fine. They're fine, I guess. The peace of mind in knowing that if anything were to happen to you, there is a universal healthcare system for each and every one of us that is a complete fucking crapshoot that you never want to actually have to use at all, but you can't do anything about it really, so why care? You don't have to care. To be Canadian is to be able to not care about politics 98% of the time. That is amazing. No one else has that. Americans don't have that. Ask any American. It's not just what they care about, it's what they are. I'm a Republican like my dad. I'm a Democrat. You ever met a Canadian that talks like that? There are a few. I'm a grit. Oh, I'm a Tory. I'm a dipper. You're a loser. And you're missing the point. You don't have to care. Stop embarrassing us. It's embarrassing. That's a great Canadian thing, the embarrassment. When everybody, USA, USA, and you're just like, ah. Treasure that shame. Shame. That's a virtuous Canadian quality. I'm proud of our shame. Be proud. Be proud as I am to live in a nation that is ashamed of nationalism. It's pretty good. And you know, it's something that we experience together. Everyone in this room, whether you are white or Asian or indigenous or black, you're mostly white, whatever, all of us together are the people who happen to be Canadian. Well, God bless you all, and God save the Queen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.